I hurt myself today to see it. There's a hole, the old familiar stain, try all away, but I remember everything. What have I become? My sweetest friend, everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all. My empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt. You stay the hell away from me here. KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. This is Talk with John here on Main Street Media, Utah. Look forward to being with you for the remainder of the next 2 hours. You might be able to see something over my right shoulder, your left, my right. There's the American flag, and then and that might play into what we're going to be talking about here coming up. So let's get to it. This is Talk with John here Tuesdays from 4 to 6 Mountain Time. You can join me right here on Main Street Media and join me. We got off to a little bit of a late start because we were trying to get a few things done, and my computer loves running things, but it doesn't necessarily love running things all at once that I have going, and we'll try to get that figured out. So, looking forward to being with you. Also, my Twitter handle is Talk with John 1. That's Talk with JON 1. Look forward to having you go to that. And we will be doing call ins not too far off from now. We will allow you to call in and interact with the guests that I have joining me and that are going to be joining me. So, right now, let's get to a few before we get into talking points, let's get this show off to a proper start. First, I want to start, as always, with my shows. I want to start with my show prayer. And now, this is just the prayer of my heart. No need to bow your head, close your eyes. It's just the prayer of my heart. I hope my show is a gift back to my forefathers, the founding fathers, and may it be an acceptable token to our Father above. Then the mantra of the show is, where there is liberty, there is the Spirit of Christ. Where the Spirit of Christ is, there will be liberty. And the greater the Spirit of Christ, the greater liberty will be. Now, that is taken from Article 7, places throughout Scripture, such as 2 Chronicles, or 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 17. So, also want to mention we've got some supporters that are helping us out and supporting us, and I just want to mention 2 of those, and hopefully we'll be getting commercials running for them soon. We're supposed to be having that happen. They haven't quite got us the information. We're giving them a little bit more time. Well, frankly, we'll wait on them as long as they need to. But Utah Gold Buyers is in Midvale. I believe it's Midvale. It might be right on the border of Midvale and Murray, about 7400 South State Street. Should you need to purchase precious metals, sell precious metals, or even they have this really cool little Mickey. It's out of silver. It's quite an old one, and it is actually been stamped. They know that it's an official Mickey. What would be the proper term? It's just kind of like a little death statue, but it's out of silver. It's really cool. At least they had it not too long ago when I went in. Also, want to mention Window World. Window World for all your window needs. Give them a ring. Now, Window World, listen, both of these companies are run by great patriots. I know them personally. Great men, great people. Feel free to go and speak with them and tell them that Main Street Media Utah and Talk with John sent them your way or sent you their way. All right, let's get to a couple of stories. We've got some stories now. I'm just going to read the headlines because I do have my guests waiting on board, but here that's happening in the state of Utah. On KSL, Utah bill would allow clergy the option to report ongoing child abuse or neglect. Utah clergy could be allowed to report instances of child abuse or neglect, even if the petitioner told them during confession. If the clergy member believes the abuse is ongoing under a newly proposed bill. Representative Anthony Lobert, Republican Kearns, spoke with KSL.com about this legislation, which has not yet been made public, saying it also provides legal protection to members of the clergy who decide to inform law enforcement of ongoing abuse. What my bill is trying to do is to at least give them those protections that others currently receive, Lobert said, of the civil and criminal liability protections. So if they report, they don't have to worry about getting sued for failing to report or being aware of neglect or abuse or anything like that. Lobert said he's working to find a middle ground on the issue of uh, clergy petitioner privilege by giving faith leaders the option of reporting and protecting to go with it without requiring them to inform the police when they learn of the abuse. Okay, I'm going to have to think about this one for a little while. Here's the difficulty. We have children that are abused and abused over long periods of time, and if a clergy member knows, we need to do something about it. On the flip side of the coin, if the if you've got someone who is trying to repent, bottom line, this I think this boils down pretty much to Christian denominations. When you go to speak with a pastor, when you go to speak with a bishop, when you go to speak with a father, a priest, something along those lines, and you go to confess your sins, ugh, this is a really, really dangerous slippery slope because what happens if they give them the option to all of a sudden they change the wording in the bill? Must. I don't think that's the place of the state. I think that I really have serious concerns. I think that's a slippery load. On the flip side of the coin, um, yeah, I do think we need to take care of the innocent. All right. I'm just going to read these headlines, and we may get to these later in the show. We may not. J6 pipe bomber was former government official. FBI has license plate number, but refuses to interview him. And then also, I want to mention this. Senator Lankford defends controversial bill allowing entry to illegal immigrants and funding two wars thousands of miles away. That's the headline for the Gateway Pundit. That previous piece was on KSL.com. Senator James Lankford appeared on Sunday News regarding a hotly debated border security bill that has stirred controversy across party lines. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the details, but one of the things is it allows 5,000 migrants to come to the border to say illegal aliens come to say, "Hey, I'm here to be a worker," and it allows 5,000 people in per day. Now, what's the big deal of that, John? I believe it was back in the Obama administration that one of the people that was over the border said, if we having 3,000 a day immigrants coming across the border is more than we can handle. we can't keep track of them. If we go up to 5,000, we're still in that same situation. That's over somewhere in the neighborhood of 155,000 a month. So, causes lots of problems for us in the future. And then another thing what the Oklahoma did, now this is an Oklahoma senator, what the Oklahoma decided to do was give him to sanction him. They were even stating that they would withhold, if the sanction passed, they would even withhold the Republican Party would withhold funding from him if he honored that. So I want to say thank you for your time. Sorry about that, and sorry to my two guests. But right now, I'm going to have them join. I'm going to bring them into the conversation. So I have two wonderful individuals, and you are more than welcome to bring up your cameras, ladies. I have Tracy Halverson and Terry Bishop joining me right now. They are with Restoring Utah's Flag, and looking forward to the conversation that I have with them today. This afternoon. Now, I will allow from the audience. We'll allow calls to come in. The on-air line is 385-899-2134. That's 385-899-2134. Tracy and Terry Bishop, Tracy Halverson and Terry Bishop, thank you so much for joining us here on Main Street Media Utah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. All right, so we had a good discussion earlier on K-Talk Radio, and I look forward to having another great discussion here on Main Street Media Utah. Now, there are let me point out. Notice what's right there. Maybe it's hard to see, but that's the real flag and the original flag of the state of Utah that my finger is pointing to right now.
That's awesome.
So that's what we have flying in my house, along with the American flag. Okay, so back in about 2010, there was a TED Talk that came to Utah, and some guy from Indiana said, "Hey, I think it's a good time for us to start change." And I'm way synopsizing this whole TED Talk, but synopsizing, he said, "Hey, it would be a great idea for a number of our states to change their flags so they become more noticeable and more independent." Now, looking at all the flags of the United States, I've seen them portrayed on stages and so forth before. Our blue flag stands out from any other state's flag. Now, they would never try this in Texas. In fact, Minnesota, I heard from an individual in Minnesota that said, "You know what? We just recently had a proposed flag put across, and I don't know if it's been put out official yet or not, but they're like, the Minnesota flag sure looks like the flag of Somalia." So I'm going, why is this all of a sudden becoming a big issue all over the United States? And I've even had a number of people say, "Hey, this same individual is even considering changing the United States flag." I'm like, oh my gosh. So what is going on? Why do we have this problem? And why should we care, ladies?
Well, first of all, he considers himself a vexologist, which I consider myself a quilter. It's a hobby. It's not a profession, nor is it a study of college with a degree. But he feels that he gave a grade to every state flag, A, B, C, D, F, whatever. And so he wants these state flags to represent, for us to feel like we're a part of something. It's supposed to represent us. And to me, the American flag does that. We're Americans, and we belong to the state of Utah, which is a part of America. So these vexologists have their philosophies on, what a good flag is and what a bad flag is. And Utah, I guess, fell in the category in their minds as not a good flag.
Okay, so that the
Another
flag that is over my right shoulder right now, the Utah flag, and Tracy, I'll get to you, and I definitely want to hear from you. That was my grandmother's Daughter of Utah Pioneers flag. That was hers.
Right.
I'm sorry. That flag is flown for my great grandpa, my great great grandparents, who I never met, but a few of I've met 3 of my 4 great grandparents, and it flew for them. Oh, and
another
the flag that flies now, the flag that flies now, never flew for them. That
No.
connects us to our culture, connects us to our state, and connects us to our heritage. All right, Tracy, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's okay. They're also that's called Flags for Good, is who you're talking about, and he also has an After Dark, which this company does not stand for anything that Utahns would even believe in. They also, some of the proceeds go to other things like Black Lives Matter, people that want to take away your guns. So some of the proceeds go to those groups to support them. So this company is not one that would probably be liked abroad in Utah.
So what you're telling me is that the flag, this company, um, it's not the most conservative company around, is what I'm
No,
hearing you say.
no, he's not. He has a lot of political agendas and can manipulate and change our new state flag in many different ways to accommodate many different social woke organizations.
Can you give the? I'm going to ask my producer if he can get the website or the Twitter account for this individual. He can actually show you a number of these flags. I think that you may be speaking of. Can you give us where that gentleman's information can be found?
Flagsforgood.com.
Flagsforgood.com. All right, so we'll see if Dwayne can get that pulled up for us if he gets the opportunity. There's some flags on there that are not even the official state flag, but they sure would like that flag in a number of places, and one of them happens to be San Francisco.
So, well, one of them was actually flown
And
in our capital in the
Dwayne
month of
said
June.
a flag was flown when?
The month of June at our own state capitol in one of the congressman's windows.
Okay, well, if it's in one of the congressmen's, in one of our state representatives' windows. So, okay, so real quickly, let me drill down on that. You said one of the congressman's windows. I'm assuming you mean state representatives' windows. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
for the state house. All right, so Dwayne, when you're ready to share with us some of those images, and we'll let that out right now. So this is on their website. Love is love. If you want to continue to scroll, now I won't disagree that love is love, but I love my children, but I don't think that means the same thing it does with everything else. Only good flags, only good causes. Ride with pride. Interesting.
He has
Oh,
a whole section called Gay or State Flags.
gay or state flags. Dwayne, if you can, uh, don't just take it from us. If you can find and what was that section again?
It's called Gayer State Flags.
and I'll let him look for he's got some stuff that's got the Utah flag in it as well. All right, so let me ask you this: what happened with Texas? Did they? What were their thoughts on the? Oh, there it is. There's the Utah flag right there. I saw it towards the bottom of the page. Keep scrolling down. Right there. Okay, it's in screen. There we go. Utah LGBT pride flag, rainbow beehive flag available. I don't think we should be making political statements with our flag. And this
No,
really leans into that to be able to happen. All
it's
right.
divisional.
Tracy, what are your thoughts?
It's very divisional to do that to the flag. You don't put it towards certain groups. It's too political and it's divisional.
So I would say the number one thing that we need to do is we need to try and have a flag bring people together, and that, like you said, Tracy, is very divisional. Terry, your thoughts?
I just think it's disrespectful to our flags. And then when you see him do it to the American flag, that's a very disgrace to the servicemen who died protecting our Constitution and protecting our country and our freedoms. That's my thoughts. I don't think we need to manipulate any flag.
Well, let's get into specific things that are happening within this movement that you're trying to bring forth. Now, I've heard that nobody cares about the state flag. I've heard statements like nobody cares about the flag, nobody cares about the old one's worn out, and people don't like it. However, we now have you. Now, let me back up just real quickly. Tracy Halverson and Terry Bishop are both with Restore Utah's Flag. You can go to restoreutahsflag.com and find out more about their organization throughout, you can do that throughout the program. But also you can, that is the name of the group that they represent. And we want to make sure that you have the opportunity, folks, to go and learn more about that organization. So that's restoreutahsflag.com. They have joined me. In fact, they've been at this for quite some time. This is their second round on trying to give not Americans, but Utahns the voice to make sure they have the opportunity to have the flag they want. Now, we have a deadline that is coming up that is for getting signatures gathered. That deadline is February 15th. Any thoughts there?
Go ahead, Tracy. Oh, did we lose Tracy?
Tracy's connection got lost. So,
Yeah.
Terry, we'll continue with you.
Yes. And yes, so we did what's called a referendum back in March, and we had less than 40 days to try to collect 150,000 signatures. We collected close to 60,000 when the lieutenant governor's office stopped counting and said we didn't have enough. And that was a referendum which would have totally abolished Senate Bill 31. But we felt so passionately about this that we decided to write a citizens bill, which is called a citizens initiative, and write our own bill and put it out to let the people vote on whether they'd like to restore our state flag to the original flag or have a new flag. And in order to do a citizens bill and get it on the ballot, you have to collect about 134 to 135 signatures. And so we began back in July. We put in the petition to do that. We had over 50 people sign on to do that. We only needed 5, but we had 50. And the lieutenant governor abused her power. She's supposed to get us the packets and all the things we needed within 2 weeks or within 30 days. And she went 30 days, 2 weeks over that 30 days, getting us the stuff. So we were late at getting started, and we didn't get started until the end of June, beginning of July. And so we've been collecting signatures since then, and we're at over 100,000 signatures at this time. But not only as you're showing there, not only do we have to collect that many signatures, we have to collect so many per Senate district. So we are working on the goals of reaching each Senate, 26 of the 29 Senate districts.
And let's get Tracy to join us now. Tracy, sorry we lost you there. The miracle of technology is we can get you back on.
I know, and I'm just getting so many phone calls that it just bounced me off.
So right now, we had Tracy, we had Terry sharing with us that you guys have over 100,000 signatures. How many signatures do we need to get to?
134,000 approximately.
Now, here is something that I am not a big fan of. Deidre Henderson, she's really good at counting votes. She's really good at making sure we had the most secure elections ever in the history of man. She spent like $1 million on an advertising campaign to tell Utahns that. Why do you need to spend $1 million if it was the most secure election ever? Okay, but nonetheless, now then we have. But she is also was part of the board for selecting the new state flag. She was on that board. Who else was on that board?
Governor Cox and Dan McKay.
So Dan McKay. Dan McKay is a state senator who is
Yes.
looking to make this bill happen. He also happens to be a state senator that's from California. Now, I love many of my California friend move-ins, but a lot of them move in and say, you know what? I'm moving in here for the state of Utah. I want to be part of the state. Dan wants to shake things up, and I'm sorry, this flag that we have that they have proposed, to me, it reminds me of wokeness. And I think one of the wokest things you can do in the state of Utah is get the current quote unquote official Utah state flag, and as opposed to having the flag that's been flying here in the state of Utah since almost 1900. So it's been here for many years, almost 120 years that's been flying over the state of Utah. Almost, not exactly, folks. Please, you can look in, you can verify, but it's close to 120 years. So, what do we need to do to get this referendum and make sure we get these signatures in? Let's go to what we can do to make that happen, ladies.
Well, you can volunteer to gather signatures. That you pick up a petition packet by signing up through our website. It says how to volunteer. You can ask your neighbors, your friends to all sign. Even if you don't think you can get up to 50 signatures, you can still get as many as you can. We only have till February 15th of us now, but we have issued a letter to the lieutenant governor requesting an extension. No matter what, though, we will continue to gather even past the deadline, because if we are not granted the extension, we plan on seeking further legal action.
And those signatures have to be registered voters in the state of Utah. It doesn't matter what county or city they're in. They just have to be registered voters in the state of Utah.
So it doesn't matter what county they live in. Does it matter where they go to sign the petition at?
Nope.
Okay. So let's
registered voters.
Okay, so let's talk about registered voters So people over the age of 18 that have already been registered, they have the ability to sign this document or to
Yes.
go ahead and sign up. You guys have some locations that they can do that over the next several coming days. Where's good places for them to go?
Well, this weekend there will be somebody at Payson Market. They'll be at the Mountain American Expo Center. They're going to be going door to door in Provo and Davis County. And then they're going to be at the Walmart in Cedar City. Any other ideas, Tracy? You know,
If anybody even wants to rent a,
Tracy, we're having a hard time hearing you, my friend.
can you hear me now?
A little better, but still you're quite quiet. Give it a shot again, Tracy.
Can you hear me now?
Wow, we can definitely hear you now. That was much better. We'll turn now we're gonna turn you down a little bit on our end. Okay. All right. That was wonderful. Now we can hear you loud and clear. Excellent. Thank you for doing whatever you did was perfect.
It was just a setting, I guess. You can even volunteer by like going and getting a room at the library and just announcing on your social media in your neighborhood groups that you'll be collecting there from certain times. There's all kinds of ways to reach out to your community and get them engaged and inform them, because there's still people that do not know, if you can believe that still don't know that our flag has changed. They
There are
don't.
many
Go
there
ahead.
are many people that don't know, and I think you guys would love to have some volunteers go door to door as well in in your own community, in your own neighborhoods. Now, one thing that we're hearing from the other side, the supporters of the new Utah state flag, is that no one cares about this. Everybody likes the new Utah flag. They prefer the new Utah flag, and nobody cares about the old one. Do you guys have any personal experience on that issue? And would you care to share your thoughts with us?
Well, I 100% disagree with that, because we've been out gathering and you should see the passion and the appreciation shown to us. They hug us. I've had people run me through parks trying to get everybody's signature, like at car shows, and we've had veterans break down and cry because it's been changed, and they don't think that we're taught to love America anymore or love our state. Instead, we get rebranded. We're embarrassed of ourselves, just like they're taking down the statues. That's what they're doing to our state flags. And the passion around it changing, if they would have went and seen that, and actually, instead of going to the lobbyists and going traveling states, they should have went and talked to the people, and they would have seen how much we do love our flag.
So let's talk about how the flag got changed and how it came about. Can you share with us how that happened? I mean, was there a big outcry in Utah? Hey, this flag is a terrible flag. Let's go ahead and change it. Was that something that was there a big movement for changing the flag?
one of the things that I am aware of is there's a family that moved here from Texas, and he ran for governor back in 2010. And one of their biggest issues was the flag, because it wasn't marketable. It didn't look good in their opinion, on a hat or on a shirt, or in a sticker and stuff like that. So he started a movement back then to try to change our flag. And so this has been kind of going on for a while, but they weren't getting the support of the legislation, nor did Gary Herbert, who was the governor for a time, like the new flag either. He was very content with our old flag. And so I feel like this has been kind of in the works for a while. And then when they got involved with Flags for Good, that's when it started to really move forward. And the legislation decided they were going to get a new flag. And
Terry, did we lose you? So the question is, am I still here?
Can you hear me?
Tracy? Oh, I can hear you, Tracy. So I can hear you just fine. All right. So who were some of the who are the people that were behind this? Was it Spencer Cox? Was it Deidre Henderson? We know that there was this business, and what's the name of that business again?
Flags for Good. And then you also
Flag.
have, I mean, it's kind of it's just a show. Like you see Amy Winder Newton sporting all these flag apparel stuff. And now we have a business called Utah Flag Apparel. And it's, it's all just intertwined is how I look at it. Terry knows a couple of the guys that pushed it. She lives by them. The Martins are the ones who are kind of pushing it too. So it's just a small group of people that want to make money. And
Who were the state legislators that also pushed that?
well,
Kevin Stratton and Dan McKay were the big ones behind it.
So Dan McKay and who else?
Kevin Stratton.
Kevin
He
Stratton.
Yeah, he knew about them wanting to change it as far back as 2017, but he just never wanted to put his name on the bill.
Okay, so what I'm not hearing is just the general public was wanting this to get changed.
so you're right. And they did send out these. What they did is they sent out this. Everybody participate in this flag change. Well, there was two gentlemen that created some software that's called the Flag Machine, and so Deidre was tweeting that and saying, "Come on, come do the Flag Machine," and so over, I think it was 4,500 of those submissions came from the Flag Machine. Well, she tweeted it. So how many non-Utahns were out putting flag submissions into Utah? And 4,500 out of the 7,000 that they say. And then they took it to the schools and told the children that our flag is ugly and it's just on a sheet. And now let's design a new flag. So they got the schools involved and they did the supposed contest. And they said they've got about 7,000 submissions. Well, we don't even know where those submissions came from because you tweeted the Flag Machine all over Twitter. And so who submitted it to us in there? And then they supposedly pick one, and this person that designed it in Utah, they won. Well, we know that's not true because we saw that the design was already been picked.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How the design came about. So this is an accusation I want to dig down on a little bit and not just let stand, because if there's truth behind it, I think it goes to show an unfairness that happened. If it's incorrect, then I want to flesh it out. So why do you make the claim that this flag was already, or the makings of this flag was already in place?
Because you can watch the TED Talk by Michael Green in 2020, where he was here in Utah, and he goes through the grades of the different flags, and then he says, if I were to design Utah's flag, here is what I would do. And he goes through it step by step. The red line at the bottom is the rock. The white 5 points is the mountains. The blue is the sky. And then he put a gold honeycomb in the middle of it. And then he pulls the flag out. I mean, it's actually on a video, and we have the video all on our phones. And the only difference that the legislation did was put a beehive in the middle of the honeycomb and a star, because they felt they needed to keep the symbol of the beehive to appease a few of the legislators and the people.
And if you go look at Utah's centennial flag, they passed a centennial flag that's very similar, and it's from the same people, the Martins. It's very similar to that one. And they passed the centennial flag, and then that's when they passed the flag commission, to see if we needed a new state flag.
So are the Martins, are they in state government, or
He ran for governor back.
what's their position?
Richard Martin ran for governor back in 2010. He's just a very wealthy businessman, and his son owns a film company and now a flagware company.
And the taxpayer paid $30,000 to the son to do a documentary of the changing of the flag.
Okay, so Dwayne is going to pull up kind of what we're speaking of, right, Dwayne? You're going to be doing that for us in just a minute. He will be sharing with us so we can see the image on our here on Main Street Media, Utah. All right, so it feels okay. So here's the thing. We can't say how about this? Talk with John cannot say with 100% certainty that this was nefarious, that this is all about money. But boy, it sure feels a lot like it. It feels like, okay, so these are some of the state flags that has been shared with those flags. So, and it says right there on the website, if you if you didn't notice, right kind of at the top of it, it says Gayer state flags. So I'll tell you this, at the very least they are trying to make some money off of this and give them somebody the opportunity to make money. Frankly, I don't know if there's more. It seems like there's woke theory behind it, folks. That's what it seems like a lot to me. So once again, I'm going to make there's and Dwayne says, my producer just put up, there seems to be a political motive. Sure seems like it. They've created a website. On top of that, they're trying to promote it, and third, they're trying to make money off of it. Yeah, to me, I would concur with your opinion, Dwayne, that there seems to be a political motive. Ladies, your thoughts?
Well, there definitely is. He supports all those agendas. He's proud of those agendas, and he feels we should all step in and go along with it and celebrate it. Again, that's one of those issues of these flags that is disappointing to me. It's personally not my biggest issue for trying to restore our state flag and get it on the ballot, but it is it is to some people. Some people are very offended by the wokeness behind the change of our state flag.
So let's say that especially like that Gayer state flag, I noticed that they didn't put anything that's there specific to Mormon pioneers. They didn't put it on anything, they don't have people doing hand carts. They don't have members of the church. They don't have minors. They don't have, one of the things that the state of Utah is known for is this was where Promontory Point was. This is where the Pacific and Union Railroad joined up, and we had a transcontinental railroad across America, the first that went across the entire continent in the whole world. And I noticed that they didn't put out anything along those lines. That's now, unfortunately, there's a part of me that's almost like, should I even be saying this? Because maybe I'm giving them reasons to continue to do it. But my point is, it does seem to have a political motive. So, Terry, how about this, Terry? I'd like to ask you and Tracy, what are the top 2 or 3 reasons why you want to keep the original state flag as the state flag for the state of Utah?
Well, first of all, John, I too moved here from California in 2012.
Like I said, one of the Californians that I really like.
And I am very conservative, and when I saw that the legislation wouldn't even listen to the voice of the people on this matter, that they shut down the public comments at the legislation session that passed SB 31, that got me riled up. It reminded me of when they changed Dixie State to Utah Tech. You know, you're erasing our history. And when you start erasing history, you are leading a country down a path, in my personal opinion, to communism. You're taking away people's freedoms, and the way you take away people's freedoms is you force them to forget their history. That's one of my biggest issues. Secondly, by the time they rebrand everything and change everything, it's going to cost the taxpayers, in the millions, close to $5 million. And I see so many better ways that money could work in homeless shelters, taking children, adults with disabilities off of waiting lists for services, fixing our roads, fixing our lakes, just so many other things. That's my other biggest reason. And third, I believe that a flag represents every single one of us in this state, over 3 million people. That means those people should be able to vote and have their voices heard, not a few small select people that receive a survey in their mail or from their legislator. All of us should have our voices heard.
Well,
I consider myself somewhat politically active. I mean, maybe other people wouldn't, but I feel like I'm pretty fairly active. I've got a pulse a little bit on what's happening in the state of Utah, and this slid underneath my radar.
Yeah, it did a lot of people
it did a
because
lot of people.
they didn't do any cottage meetings. They didn't put it out there. The children were able to draw a new state flag, but how many of you, a lot of us don't have children in school anymore, or your kids don't come home and tell everything they did in school that day. So
Okay, so along those lines, why are we even going to the children on this? They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to vote for representatives or not. I mean, I don't want to say we shouldn't care about their thoughts, but they're not the ones that are voting for state representatives. I'm sorry, we should not always go to the children for everything. Tracy, what are 2 or 3 reasons why you don't support the flag?
Well, and I echo what Terry said, but I'll add too that they keep saying that they tried to make us happy by keeping the historical flag. That's what they call it now, is the historical flag, and you still have a choice to fly it. Well, if you read the regulation that they passed, it says lieutenant governor can tell you when and where to fly it. So why have that language in there? And having two flags.
So I'm guessing when and where to fly it, the lieutenant governor can tell you. I'm assuming that's probably on state uh, grounds
Not,
as opposed.
no,
What?
not that's not how it's written. It's not how it's written. And if you would assume that, but you go and read it, that's not how it's written. And she having two flags is divisional. We should be under one banner. And if the people want to change that, then they can vote on it. But they should have never changed it without the people's voice on it, because that is the banner under which we all gather under.
didn't Spencer Cox say that he was going to put it to a vote of the people and then reneged on that?
He said he would like to have it put to a vote to the people in 2022, in November 2022, but it never happened.
And boy, that's shocking.
Yeah, and they tell you, oh, we can't put it to a vote. Yes, you can. It's a non-binding question. It's almost like a public survey. Instead, they did these backdoor surveys, and they never presented the other flag with that new flag. They never gave anybody a choice.
Okay, I want to kind of go over what's in the referendum. I would like you guys to do that, but I do want to hit this. So, Terry, you said that it would cost about $5 million. Now, is that to the state of Utah, or is that to, where do you come up with the number of five? Is that $5 million because I need it instead of having that flag right there?
We
fine,
had a
I'm
te-
home. I want to
we
go
had
out
a
to another one.
we had a team of people who sat down and figured out how much it would cost to rebrand everything, such as uniforms, textbooks. Um,
It wasn't
re-
it wasn't our team, Terry. It was actually a guy that is a vexologist. The legislature had it done, and so all we did was get the email
Put
that
out the
confirmed.
information of the
Hmm.
vexologist.
Yep, and he was saying that was going to be so much money, and then he went through it, all of it that Terry's talking about. So the legislature actually had a vexologist email them and tell them that.
Vexologist, I'm like, why can't we just have a normal citizen? Why does it have to be? Why can't it be a normal citizen? Why does it have to be a vexologist? Um, and if you're going in, never mind.
well,
I'm not.
didn't he work at a local flag company too, Tracy?
Yeah, yeah, and because he was involved in part of the process, but as part of that process, he provided an email to all the legislature, and it went through the cost, and that's the number that Terry's talking about.
If it was $5 million out of private citizens' pockets that they're choosing to put in to make that change, I don't have a problem with it. In theory, with that specific, and let me be clear on that specific issue of the rebranding. But my guess is that $5 million is coming out of the tax dollars generated uh, by my fellow Utah citizens.
Yep. And our state initiative that we're doing is it actually came back with the fiscal impact of saving the state money.
They said it would save the state money.
Yep.
I don't buy that for a second. That's
No,
bullshit.
our initiative.
Oh, your initiative, not the initiative to create the new flag, but our initiative. Got it.
Yes, the people's initiative saying that they want to change it back and just leave our flag alone. It said it would save the state money. So the people are putting forward a bill to save the tax dollars while they're still up there making more laws to spend the tax dollars.
Okay, so real quickly, folks, you are listening to us, and you can view us on KMMU, Main Street Media Utah. Find us live on X, YouTube, Rumble, and our website, kmmu.org, or you can search KMMU on your social media platform. So that stands for the letter K. Everything west of, I believe it's the Mississippi River, has a K. Everything east of it is a W. And so we, just like a regular radio station, KMMU, Main Street Media, Utah. So thank you for joining us here today. And for those of you that will be viewing this in the future, we look forward to having you view this, and we appreciate you doing so. All right, let's get into the referendum. Talk to me what this referendum is trying to do. Is it, I would like you guys to share that with us, if you would, please.
First of all, it's an
So,
initiative. So we actually wrote
Saying
a bill.
referendum, don't I? I keep saying
Yes,
referendum. So I'm
that's okay.
making, with my pen right here, initiative,
Yes.
not
So it's a
referendum.
citizens initiative. And I'll let Tracy explain more about it since she's the one that actually wrote the bill.
so what it does is it repeals SB 31, which is the bill that changed our state flag, and restores Utah under the one flag, our one state flag. And then it says if you ever want to change our state flag again, you have to take it to a vote. And so
I
that
mean,
would go forward onto a ballot in November, and either you'd vote for it to restore it or against it if you wanted to still keep the new flag.
so this gives, here's my difficulty with this. It gives the people a little bit of a voice, but our voice was already taken away.
Yeah.
Um, I had a conversation with a radio host down in central Utah. And he's like, well, I like the flag. I'm for the flag. I think it's a good idea. One of the reasons why he said, well, when they created this flag, it was just some governor's opinion of what he wanted to do. All of a sudden, hey, you guys don't have a flag. You should have a flag. We're going to make a flag. Um, but he goes, John, this was the state legislator voted on this. This is totally a Republican perspective. And I'm like, nobody heard about it. Nobody knew about it. It wasn't really debated, and it didn't come out in the public. And this is changing something that stood for over a century.
So there's been a narrative that's been pushed around that, we're Republican form of government, we're representative form of
Right.
government. Well, that is true when your representative form of government, and I think it was Jefferson that said it, he said that has a risk of becoming rot with just listening to special interest groups and lobbyists. So they gave us a tool to do a check on our government, and that's through initiative and referendums. So it's very good to use these tools. And that's what we're doing, is because we don't believe they actually represented the people. And I'll tell you, we've been out collecting signatures and they didn't. It's been 85, 90% that want to say it, that want our old flag, and they don't want the changed.
Okay, so I want you to restate that, but I want to couch it this way. That is another thing that has been part of the narrative, is that nobody cares about the state flag. Nobody cared about the old one, and everybody is positive and looking to the current new flag. Now, I have a close family member that's like, John, I actually like this new flag better, but what bothers me is how they went about doing it. So, what is your guys' experience? Terry, you've shared with me that you've gathered somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 signatures.
Yes.
And Tracy, when you're out there trying to get signatures, Tracy, state that again. And Terry, I want you to give your opinion on this. Tracy, how many did you say? What percentage of people want to support this initiative?
85 to 90%. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes if they know about the issue, they'll come running, wanting to sign. Because
Wow.
and then they give you hugs and they thank you over and over for doing what we're doing.
Well, Tracy, I'd give you a hug too. So, Terry, what is your experience?
I've had several experiences, and prime example is I had a lady who claims to be a vexologist, and she liked the new flag as far as the standards of a vexologist, but she did not like the process of how this flag was done. And so she was willing to sign our initiative to put it out to a vote of the people. But again, like Tracy said, I would say 85 to 90% of the people do not like the new flag, and to the point where some have even used vulgar language to express their dislike for the new flag. I've had children where I've held up the two flags, and I would say 90% of the children pick the one with the eagle and the American flag. They love it. So very few, I would say, 10% like the new flag, but they would like to put it out to the vote of the people because they believe in the process of letting us vote on it.
Okay. Okay, so up until you guys pointed this, I never even heard the term vexologist. I mean, that was completely a new term to me. I mean, it's like it seemed like it was a made-up word in the last couple of months. So let me share with the audience what a vexologist is. Vexology is the study of history, symbolism, and usage of flags, or by extension, any interest in flags in general. A person who studies flags is a vexologist. One who designs flags is a vexologist. vexillographer, and the art of the design flags is called vexillography. One who is a hobbyist or a general admirer of flags is a vexophile. So vexology was formalized by American scholar Smith in 1961 in a publication of the Flag Bulletin. So this is something that has come about pretty recently. Um, I, I'm surprised that you can find more than 3 people in the United States that are vexologists. In fact, unfortunately, I closed out Google. I Googled it. Yes, I did. It pulled up Wikipedia. But one of the things that I should have Googled is this like a actual degree or PhD or something along those lines?
Yeah, no, I believe
No,
it's not a degree.
So someone just gets to say, "I'm a vexologist," is what it
Yeah.
sounds like to
yeah,
me.
you have a hobby of
It's like,
flags.
yeah, it's like me saying, I'm a quilter. Let me change your quilt because your points aren't on mark.
I think there's a lot more. Let me put it this way: there's a whole lot more quilters out there, and quilters are good people. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. Quilters are good people. I like quilters. Okay, so let's get back into what this bill is, or what the bill is attempting to do. Not not the bill. The initiative is we're trying to overcome that. Also, you guys have had some success. You went from only got about 50,000 signatures the last go around. Now you've got over 100,000 signatures. We need about 130. We need about well, you need over 34,000 more. And we probably should get another 50,000 more. Let's talk about some of the things that have happened with these pamphlets that have been put in there and some of the problems that we've had with the state.
Um, they're applying an arbitrary rule of if you hand in a packet 30 days after the first signature, the whole entire packet is disqualified. And they don't account for these. They don't put them on a report. They just kind of go into a black hole. I'm sure there's somebody keeping accounting of them, but they're not reflecting that to us. We don't know how many signatures, and so ultimately they're just disenfranchising everybody's signature that's in there and it's an arbitrary rule. There's nothing in there that says that they should do that. Then there's the rule that if you knowingly sign the initiative twice, you're gonna get a misdemeanor.
You're subject to a misdemeanor or
Yeah,
the possibility of
you're
getting a misdemeanor.
well, it says you're guilty of one. It doesn't say you're subject, it just says you're guilty of it.
So let me explain kind of what that may mean and correct me if I'm wrong. So let's say that my signature is in a packet. And for whatever reason, one of the signatures happens to be more than 30 days old and mine is 29 days old when it's turned. So someone's signature is 31 days, mine's 29, totally fine, everything above board. Am I understanding that there's a chance that even my signature is thrown out because
Oh,
I'm in a packet?
yeah, your signature will be thrown. It won't be counted.
It won't be counted. So I can't go back and correct the mistake by signing a new packet because then I am doing a misdemeanor, which eventually, if I don't pay the fee or the fine, if they hold me to it, I could even be thrown in jail over that.
Right. And
Because if you don't pay the fine for a misdemeanor, they can and they have come after people with an arrest warrant.
right. And if you even really want to get more technical, us as a volunteer can't go seek your signature. Otherwise, we're aiding and abetting because we know it's a crime to sign twice.
So, what are some of the other? So, what are some of the other issues that are happening with these some of these packets and them being tossed out? Why are some of the other reasons they're being tossed out?
Um, Say for example, because the initiative costs money, they only give us 2 signatures per sheet, and it costs the volunteers all money. Like, we're not rich people. It's just all grassroots movement. So we printed these on our own and stapled them and went out of out of someone's family room, as a volunteer's family room. And so the grassroots know that this costs a lot of money. So when they, for example, we had a volunteer that suffered a heart attack right after she started it. And the first 2 signatures in there went expired by the time we got the packet. Well, there's still 48 more spots where someone can sign. So the volunteer thought, well, we'll just cross those out because you have to be the only witness for them. So they crossed out those initiative packet, or those names and signatures, and then moved forward to use the rest of the packet. Well, when we turned that in, they said, nope, it's expired. The entire packet's gone.
That is ridiculous. So 48 people just had their just got disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you been able to raise any money over to help getting this done? Has there been any donations, and if so, where can people go to find out about that?
Well, because of the constitutional violations, we've actually issued a request to the Lieutenant Governor's office and made some requests for on certain issues. And then if we don't hear from them by Friday, we plan on seeking further legal action. So we've actually retained a law firm called out of DC, Barr and Klein. And so, yes, we have raised funds. In 12 days. We raised over $25,000 and to go towards the retainer of that. So you can continue to donate for, just trying to help us get the information out there, and also to continue on with this lawsuit, because it's going to cost more money as we go along. And you can do that at restoreutahsflag.com.
Okay, so go to restoreutahsflag.com to be able to help support that initiative and to donate and to help these folks get this done. Frankly, I know that the majority of our viewers and listeners are interested in beating woke policies. To me, this is one of the best ways that we can beat back wokeness, is just by going and getting your signature on this initiative, so we can get this overturned and get our original flag back, or at least get it to a vote.
Yeah.
For the citizens for the state of Utah. Barr and Klein has been retained. What do they think the chances are that we can move forward with this?
Oh, they're confident. This is that they specialize in, is the First Amendment, and they're confident that the laws in Utah are just egregious, and they aren't a. If you go and look at their clients, there's a James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. They've done cases for them and won and taken them all the way through the Supreme Court. So they're very confident. They wouldn't have taken this case if they weren't.
Terry, do you have any thoughts to share?
I'm just proud of all the effort and time Tracy and 1,000 other citizens in Utah have put into this initiative and this process of the People's Bill. We are wanting to just make a statement to these legislators that they are representatives of our voices. And if they're not willing to listen to our voices, we're going to stand up against them. And the reason I like this flag initiative is because it's nonpartisan. Yes, we have lots of bigger issues out there that the state is dealing with and the things that are happening. But this is nonpartisan, where we can all join together and make a statement to the legislators and let them know they need to listen to the people. And I've had interactions with several legislators the past couple months, from Gary Hubert down to my own Senator Kurt Bramble. And some are willing to open their eyes and ears to the people, and some are just dead smack, nope, not going to do it. Nothing. Like Brad Wilson, he wanted nothing to do with it. Um, Mike McCall, nothing to do with it. So there are some that are just like, nope, we're not going there. And then there's others that have said, hey, you know what? I should have listened to the people. And I'm willing to sign this to give the people a voice.
Okay, so real quickly, folks, our call in number is 385-899-2134. That's 385-899-2134. Tracy needs to get going here shortly. So, Tracy, I'm going to let you give your last thoughts. But I also want to touch on Phil Lyman, and we can do that after you need to get going, Tracy. Your thoughts.
I just encourage everybody to get involved. Even if you think you can't get signatures, you can go to restoreutahsflag.com, volunteer to or volunteer to go get signatures. You get to meet amazing people as you do it, and we need to be connected because there's some things that Utah's just not heading in the right way, and so we all need to connect and start being more involved. If you're not involved in politics, we honestly need to take the time to go and listen and follow the bills. But yeah, we just encourage everybody to come join us. It's amazing people using this, doing this initiative. So, and I thank every one of them for all their sacrifices that they've done.
Well, Tracy, I want to say thank you for spending your time trying to get this initiative done. I'm going to tell you, I'm thoroughly support it. I've put my signature on an initiative, and all my family has as well. So, I want to say thank you to you for doing that, and thank you for being here today on Main Street Media Utah. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate being here today.
Well, and I appreciate you, John, for trying to get the word out there and inform people and having us on. And Terry can tell you more about Phil's bill, but that's another thing that people can do is reach out to the representatives and say they want them to support the bill that restores our Utah state flag.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. So that was Tracy Halverson joining us. We want to say thank you to her for joining us today. So, Tracy, let's talk about and our lonely call screener is waiting if you have any questions for the flag or for questions for Terry. Any questions? Well, he's happy to have you come in and join us. All right. So let's also bring up Phil Lyman. So we have I've spoken very harshly, I would say, or not very positively about our state legislators and our executives. I've even, you could say, implied that there aren't a lot of people that are trying to that are for this. As you shared with me, Terry, we actually do have some good state legislators that are wanting to get this bill up and get it and trying another track than just getting signatures. Terry, can you share that with what Phil Lyman is doing? In fact, Phil Lyman was a guest here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so Phil, who's running for governor, he is going to present our bill. It's waiting to go through the process of getting a number, and then when it does, it will be presented to the House. And it's basically the same bill that we have on our initiative to restore the state flag. And if they ever want to change the flag again, it has to go to a vote of the people. We have spoken to a couple senators to hopefully also sponsor the bill, because if we can't get the support of the Senate, then the bill is going to have a hard time passing. So that's why we encourage people to call their representatives, their senator, their House of Representative, and encourage them to get behind Phil Lyman in this bill. What I was going to say is, SB 31 only passed by a margin of 4 votes. So if you look at those that passed it and those that were against it, it was a matter of 4 votes that changed in order to pass the bill and give us a new state flag, which is really discouraging. And so a couple of those legislators that voted in favor of the new flag are now seeing that the people are upset and have signed on to our initiative. But then there are several that are no way are they going to support our initiative.
Well, unfortunately, one of those state representatives happens to be Mike McKell, and well, he's not going to support the bill because, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well,
Well,
he
no, I'm not.
told me flat out to my face he would not sign. I mean, I approached him and asked him, and he said, "No, I'm not signing that. I'm not putting my name to that." And I
Well,
can name a few others that did the same thing that I approached personally.
well, I'll say this. At least he's willing to at least he's willing to say no to something. I appreciate that he knows how to say no. I'm grateful. Um, and I'm not going to ask you who some of those other people may be. Um, but so Mike McKell happens to be the brother-in-law of Spencer Cox, and also took over the seat for Deidre Henderson. Now, Deidre Henderson, I've said this before, when she was a state senator, right up until COVID, she was one of the best. She was one of the best around. Unfortunately, uh, I'm not as thrilled with her in what would be the proper term. I'm not. I haven't been very pleased with her as lieutenant governor. So let me ask you this: what does Phil Lyman tell you he thinks the chances are of us being able to do this, and what do we need to do as citizens, both on what can people do that care about this bill? What can they do to help this go through?
I personally have not spoken to Phil Lyman myself. Tracy and a couple other people have done that. But we did also speak to the Speaker of the House, the current Speaker of the House, and even though he would not sign the initiative as well, his encouragement was to get a senator behind it. And if we could get a senator behind it, then the chances of it passing are good. Phil Lyman feels confident about the House. I believe it's the Senate that we're more concerned about. And so that is why it's really important we contact our legislators via text message, email, phone call, and let them know that you want them to support Phil Lyman and the People's Bill.
And folks, listen. Up at the state legislature, these guys have to work with one another for at least 2 years. These guys and gals have to work with one another for 2 years. They're in pretty darn close proximity. There's a chance that you may be sitting next to someone in your desk that you really don't particularly care for, and you've got to figure out a way to have civility. So it is a difficult thing. But if all of a sudden, from everybody's district, if they all of a sudden got 1,000 phone calls from people that lived in their district, I even think we could turn Mike McKell around. If all of a sudden he had 1,000 phone calls saying, "Hey, Mike McKell, I want you to support this bill," I guarantee you he would wind up voting for it. Um, and I think that's the way the vast majority of the state representatives. And so so Phil Lyman shared with me um, uh, on uh, on my show that I had him on 2 weeks ago. He said, it's about building relationships to get bills passed, and especially in the Senate. Now, he didn't say this, so I'm gonna say this. This is talk with John's words. So, especially in the Senate, where I believe there's only like it's either 27 or 29 representatives in the Senate. Um, each senator has much more power, and Dan McKay likes to throw around his weight. And Dan McKay was a big supporter of this bill, and I've been told directly by state representatives that if Dan McKay is not, if you don't support his bill or you go against his bill, he will go out of his way to not support or to crush their bills. So that's the
It's
game that's played.
exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
So what do you mean? That's exactly what happened, Terry.
We've had some legislators who said that he told them that if they did not support this bill, he was going to destroy their bills. And there were a few of those bills that were pretty important that needed to get done. And that's why we had 4 legislators switch at the end.
Hmm. Well, that's the unfortunately the dirty part of politics that happens not
Mm,
just in the state of Utah, it happens all over the nation,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
yeah.
the dirty part of politics. And the other thing is, Dan can throw his weight, could throw away his or throw around his weight because okay, there's 29 senators and 75 members of the House. Great job, Dwayne. Thank you so much. Our producer, Dwayne, pulling up those stats for us. I appreciate you doing that. 29 in the Senate, 75 in the House. So almost 3 times as many members of the Utah State House as there are senators.
One thing, John, I was going to say is, as part of the signature gathering, it's not just the 134,000 we need. Because if we needed just 134,000, we could stand outside the Mountain American Expo Center every weekend and do that. We have to collect a percentage of each of those 26 of those 29 Senate districts. We have to reach a certain number. My Senate district of 24, Kurt Brambles, we have to collect over 3,000 signatures. So when you say Mike McKell gets 1,000 phone calls, well, believe me, for his district, we have to collect close to 4,000 signatures for that district. So each Senate district is requiring a certain amount of signatures.
Okay, and what are some of, and great question from Dwayne, what are some of those Senate districts that you are really in need of those numbers from? Do you know?
I know 29, which is down in Santa Clara and in Washington County. All of the Salt Lake districts, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then we're trying really hard right now to get Mike McKell's done, 25, and we're trying really hard to get 24 done, Kurt Brambles. So, and 22 and 23. So, I mean, we're working hard on all of them, but the hardest ones we're having struggle with is 29 and the Salt Lake County Senate districts.
All right. Can you please share with us how people can find out uh, more about this initiative?
Again, they can go to restoreutahsflag.com. We have a Facebook page, again, called Restore Utah's Flag. We have a Twitter page, again, restoreutahsflag.com. And so those are the 3 main social media platforms as well as websites that have everything on it, from permanent signing locations to signing events and places to pick up packets and where the different districts are at currently as far as signature gathering.
All right. Let's do this. We're going to bring up the site right now that people can see. So uh, the site is Restore Utah, restoreutahsflag.com. Please go to restoreutahsflag.com and look up how you can go and be part of this, be part of this opportunity. So that's restoreutahsflag.com. There's no apostrophe in Utah's. Go there and find out how you can get a packet, how you can become a volunteer, and how you can go get signatures. Folks, even if you don't get a full packet of 50, let's say you just go and you do it within your own house. So let's just say it's your spouse. Let's say you don't have any children that are above the age of 18 and registered voters. Go to a couple of your neighbors that you know would support this. Go ask them to sign. Let's say you only get 14 or 15. Let's say you get 20. What happens if you get 30? Now, how many are in those packets again? How many did you?
There's 50 signatures to a packet.
If you get all 50, we're real close, folks. We're really, really close. Now, we probably want to get somewhere in the neighborhood of about 160 votes to make sure we get this. So, Utah County or Salt Lake County, Utah County, also down in Washington, please, Washington County, please do what you can to make this happen. Um, any other last thoughts that you have for us that you want to share, Terry? Any last thoughts?
First of all, I'm just really proud of everybody that stepped up and is volunteering their time. We are just, again, volunteers. We are putting in countless hours a day, a week, a month to do this. I met a young man the other day that was getting paid $2 a signature to gather signatures for Spencer Cox and Brad Wilson and these different senators. And
Wow.
yeah, and we were told if we wanted to pay somebody, we would have to pay them an hourly wage. None of us can afford that. So we have worked countless hours. We have been out in the heat. We have been out at the Mountain American Expo in the cold, out in a tent with heaters, because they won't let us inside, even though it is a taxpayers owned facility. Um, so people are going door to door. Again, spending countless hours. We have a wonderful social media crew that's doing different little blips and advertisements every now and then on social media. And we have people that can't physically get mobile that are helping us track packets. We've taken pictures of all the packets so we know what packets were out there. I mean, it's just, again, we're grassroots. And again, in $26,000 we raised in 12 days just by people donating, no big corporation behind us at all on this issue.
Well, I want to say thank you for your work here in the state of Utah. I know that you're passionate about the state of Utah. You're passionate about protecting our liberty and freedom. And I appreciate you being here today. And thank you for joining us. And we look forward to getting this information out. I know that people will be restreaming it. Once again, we're going to say go to restoreutahsflag.com. You can go there, donate. You can look for opportunities to where to go to sign the initiative. Also, we're going to suggest, as well as you can become someone who goes out and gathers signatures. And then also, I'm going to say another very simple thing to do: call your state legislator. Both of my state legislators, when I call, they know who's calling. I'm sure they've got my name on their caller ID, and both of them have called me back in the past. So, folks, this is worth doing. And if you happen to know some other state representatives, give them a call, especially the ones that are willing to support it. Tell them thank you for being willing to do it. And you could even say something along the lines, boy, I wish my state legislator was like you. All right. Terry Bishop, once again, going to give you a last word on this, and then I'm going to say thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you, John, again for having us. Everybody, this is about one, protecting our history, two, having our voices heard. And that's why we're doing this. So again, restoreutahsflag.com and let the people decide which flag they'd like to have.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Okay. Thanks, John. Have a good night.
You as well. Take care. I look forward to hearing that you wound up being successful. That's what I'm hoping, that we get those signatures, and I'm looking forward to that success. So if you
Thanks.
wouldn't mind, text me and let me know how we're doing. Okay.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you. Take care. All right. So, like next week, I probably, hopefully, she will, and hopefully, I will stay in touch with both of them to be able to report to you how things are going forward. Uh, let's talk about some of these news articles that we have throughout uh, Utah. Tim Ballard to speak at Conservative Political Action Conference in February. Wow, good job. Glad we're still keeping him in the loop, even if there's questions. Operation Underground Railroad founder, former CEO Tim Ballard will speak at Conservative Political Action Conference next month amid ongoing lawsuits. Now, just because you have a lawsuit, just because someone's made an accusation against you, doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's not. Let me be clear. Doesn't mean it's not. But embattled uh, Operation Railroad Embattled Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard will speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference next month in Washington, despite multiple sexual assault allegations. Let's be clear, folks. Um, what he has done here in the state of Utah and throughout the world in rescuing thousands of individuals and what his organization could do and hopefully will continue to do, that should not be overlooked by sins that may or may not have happened. Um, and I'm going to say again to this, it's interesting when the timing of when this was released. It happened to come out right as he was looking to announce that he was going to be running for Senate. A really interesting time. And on top of that, he was also going to be speaking before Congress the following. I believe it was either that week or the following week. He was going to be presenting before Congress. So, bottom line is, I think there were some very nefarious things that happened. All right, let's get to this. A few articles on the national side now, real quickly, as I shared before. Um, I need to ask, let's see, what would be the proper way to state this? My show, it has a more of a national perspective and how that interacts with Utah. So I do bring national stories to the show, probably more than I do bring local stories. Report on, and this is the Gateway Pundit. I've got a few stories from the Gateway Pundit. J6 bomber was former government official. FBI has had his license plate number, but refused to interview him. Over 3 years ago, on January 5th, 2021, a suspect planted pipe bombs near the Washington, D.C. RNC, so that's uh, Republican National Conference and Democrat National Committee headquarters. So the night was before January 6th protest. The U.S. Capitol was shut down on January 6th after the feds found the bombs near the Republican and Democrat Party headquarters. As previously reported, a mysterious uh, suspect planted two pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC Washington, D.C. headquarters and safely okay, I'm reading from this report. A mysterious suspect planted two pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC headquarters and safely detonated by a bomb squad on January 6th. So it was not detonated in the public, it was just detonated by a bomb squad. The FBI continued to drip out news videos of the suspect who placed two pipe bombs at the DNC and RNC the night before the Capitol riot in the months following the incident. A whistleblower stepped forward in 2022 and disclosed the FBI was withholding information on the investigation. In 2023, the FBI offered a $500,000 reward for information on the alleged bomber. Maybe they needed to check who was on duty that night. Maybe they needed to check and see who was involved in this. All right. I'm like, you ought to just, they ought to just to have checked who was like they said, on duty or who was off duty, but who was in Washington, D.C. The culprit was caught on video, but never caught by the FBI, the greatest intelligence service in the world. Now we know why. FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin, that's Seraphin, reported in May 2023 that the technicians who worked on the program told him the devices were inoperable. It was likely just a propaganda operation used to attack Trump supporters, planned and sanctioned by the deep state. Now, folks, um, I've shared this before, maybe not on Main Street Media Utah. I've had more than one individual tell me that they were there on the grounds at January 6th and saw police vehicles leading two large vans, small buses, bringing people in that looked nothing like the people surrounding them and that were there as Trump supporters. Um, their claim, and I think we now have very much credible information, that there were agitators brought in. Now, were they Antifa? Were they FBI? We now know that the FBI had plainclothes people. Let me rephrase that. Not necessarily we know the FBI had plainclothes people in, but we do know that there were federal employees that were in plain clothes that were part of and were agitators. In May 2023, Representatives Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, Bill Posey sent a letter to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, demanding an update on the case of the J6 pipe bomber. Jim Jordan's letter highlighted a crucial detail that has come to light. The FBI may possess information about the license plate number of the suspect's vehicle. Now, my suspicion, this is just a suspicion, we're going to either find out that license plate is to a government vehicle or it was a rental. I don't think someone drove their own vehicle. I don't think somebody in the FBI would be crazy enough to drive their own one. So the committee's interest in the initiative was sparked by a whistleblower's disclosure from a senior FBI official, which raised questions about the unusual nature of the FBI's investigative efforts. The whistleblower disclosed and revealed that the FBI's Washington field office has requested other field office to canvass all confidential human sources across the country for information about the culprit, despite more than a year having passed since the bombs were placed. The request specifically asked for information from sources reporting on all types of threats, as the suspect's motive and ideology remain unknown. If they've got, the FBI used the security camera footage from the Northern Virginia Metro stop to identify the license plate of a car associated with the suspect. So, if all that information is there, do you feel like you're being lied to? Do you feel like information is being kept from you? I sure do. Do you feel like you're being manipulated? I sure do. Especially when it comes to January 6th. I feel like I'm being manipulated and sabotaged. And especially those that support Trump. Man, if you're a Trump supporter, you're the most evil person on the face of the earth. At least that's what we're told by the lamestream Democrat media. All right, let's go to another story. Gavin Newsom from the Gateway Pundit. Gavin Newsom says Democrats have to be worried about third-party candidates in 2024. Let's see what Gavin Newsom has to say. Let's see if we can get this to play real quick.
How worried are you about a third party? There'll be multiple third-party candidates, so it doesn't take a lot. I know a third-party candidate isn't likely to be elected president or beat either one, but I mean, how worried are you? Yeah, how worried are you about that?
I have to be worried. But you know what? You got to control the controllables. Got to control what you have to control. Right now, it's getting the vote out.
Do you think it's a mistake then for Democrats to try to keep these third-party candidates, no labels, and the others off the ballot? You're seeing an effort.
Yeah, I think when you try to suppress choice and voice, it tends to backfire.
Especially when you're talking about the importance of democracy. You're trying to keep people off the ballot.
So I don't get consumed by that. And I'm not here on behalf of the Biden administration even thinking about that. I'm a simple guy, and what I mean by that is I look at, for example, let's look at no labels. I actually took the time. I encourage people to look up what are they for. And I thought, wow, this is literally reads as the accomplishment list of the Biden-Harris administration. So they're a solution in search of a problem. I respectfully submit.
So Gavin Newsom is coming on with ABC and talking to. So this weekend on ABC, California Governor Gavin Newsom made a ridiculous case for the Biden re-election and even tried to claim that Biden has a plan for dealing with the crisis at the border. During the same interview, he was asked about third-party candidates and said the Democrats should be worried about them. To his credit, unlike many other Democrats, Newsom said that he doesn't support the effort to keep them off the ballot. Some polls have shown Trump performing even better in elections with third-party candidates, including RFK Jr. Well, here is what I would say. We absolutely should allow third-party candidates on. But bottom line is, I don't know that the Democrat Party should be too concerned about third-party candidates because I don't think you're going to have many Democrats go over. Historically speaking, we've not had many Democrats go and vote for third-party candidates, or as much as there have been Republicans that have voted third party. So I don't think there's as big of a concern. But the other funny thing the other thing in this article that it briefly mentions is California, the Governor Newsom said is that Biden is working on taking care of the border, working on keeping it open. I'd agree with that. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland to temporarily hand over power while undergoing back surgery. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland is set to undergo back surgery this coming weekend, prompting a temporary transfer of his official responsibilities to Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco. The Justice Department confirmed on Monday. Garland, 71, is scheduled for a minimally invasive medical procedure called, well, I'm not even going to go into it, on his back. Bottom line, wondering, I'm going to throw this out there. There's a part of me that wonders, hey, maybe something goes nasty on this, and oh, you know what? He's no longer able to face the music. Merrick Garland, this man needs to be brought to justice, needs to be brought before, he definitely needs to be impeached. So, folks, this has been Talk with John. Wanted to bring up a couple stories. Want to say thank you so much to both Terry Bishop. I want to say thank you to Tracy Halverson. Want to say thank you to both of them for joining me. And also, I want to say thank you to you. Now, Main Street Media, we're building. You're going to see us in a lot of different places, and we are going to be continuing to get known. So, Main Street Media Utah, you can find us live on X, YouTube, Rumble, and our website, KMMU.org, or you can search for us on your social media platforms. Thank you for joining me here on Talk with John. Thank you for being here tonight. And I want to say thank you so much to Dwayne, who is our producer and call screener. Didn't get to do any call screening tonight, but he is our producer. He was help producing the show. Dwayne, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for all you do. Folks, God bless you. Keep in mind, truth is liberty. Liberty is truth. And we need to do things that will keep us more free. So this has been Talk with John. Look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.